And we can get started. Thank you all for coming today to the admin group meeting, a group of people who maybe aren't the system admin, but do a lot of administrative work inside the client. Today we're going to talk about 3.13 upgrade experiences. Jazzy. And Dan and I will be talking about our experiences, but if you folks have upgraded recently, please feel free to share yours as well. I'm going to turn it over to Dan to get us started because his list is sadly or greatly, I guess depending on how you look at it, shorter than mine. So
Yeah, so we upgraded on Halloween. So we had a spooky upgrade, which was fun. Or I guess we upgraded the night before Halloween, but for our library staff, it was Halloween. Um, and I've mentioned this to Elizabeth, but we don't use the built-in reporter or acquisitions. So, and I think that there were a lot of changes in both acquisitions and the reporter. I get the impression I didn't really pay too much attention to those. So I think that that's what made our upgrade experience fairly smooth. We were upgrading from 311 to 313, so just going two steps. Um, the big things that we encountered, like always, we had to do cache clears. This was actually the first time that we kind of instruct our staff beforehand to just do like a proactive cache clear. So we kind of like really, really hammered that in communications leading up to the upgrade. Basically said like, please make sure to clear your cache, do not clear your cookies, because of course, if you clear your cookies, at least for most of our libraries, if they're using Hatch, that blows away workstation settings. Um, we sent out memes about cookies and cache and stuff, so it was a great time. I can share some of them afterwards if anyone wants me to. Um, and so yeah, the clearing the cache was one big thing. We did have a couple reports from people who did not clear their cache and encountered most frequently an issue with the patron search screen just displaying in one single column instead of I guess the fields show up in maybe four columns, if I remember correctly off the top of my head. Um, so that's kind of a common, like, oh, if you run into that, it's probably someone didn't clear their cache. I actually ran into that myself on infrequently used laptop last week. The cache really holds on to things for a long time. So that was one thing. We also ran into the issue that I think is already a known bug, and I can post this bug in chat, where we did have some map projections added to our list of audience values. So I can post that here because it looks like it's a bug that's still being worked on here. So that's just something to be aware of. And then the other thing that we ran into, and I'm actually going back and forth on whether this is like a bug to report or just something to just be aware of. So I'd love to hear from anyone if you have opinions on this, is if you're looking at a list of the holds that a patron has, the hold, some of the fields have changed and there was a big change to the way that those fields are pulled. And so if a staff member had the title or the author listed as columns in their saved settings, the title and author won't be there anymore. They have to go back and re-add it. And it's just because the source of those fields changed. So I'd be curious if anyone else has upgraded to 313 and also experienced that, or if that might have just been a weird quirk of something on our end. And that's most of what we encountered.
I will confirm that the headings and things did disappear for ours. And like something like the names changed too, like you said. And so like I was looking to add like barcode back to the holds list, and it's not called barcode anymore. It's called current item. And it's like, that's not helpful. That's actually less helpful to me because I'm like, what do I want? I want the barcode. I don't want the current item. Current item could be anything to me. Like it's not clear as to what I'm gonna get. So um, I would file the book.
So maybe I'll report that as a bug then.
Gina said Jessica would always recommend creating separate browser profiles to help with organizing the cache cookies problems staff would have. So like, can you explain a little more? My brain is not
Yeah,
working.
no problem. I know for us also, it just seems like Evergreen doesn't really work super well, especially with Chrome, because Chrome likes to update things and not tell us about it. We're having like the separate browser profiles kind of help with that. Whereas in like one profile is just for Evergreen use, and then another profile would be for email and other internet browsing that staff would use. So in the event where like someone did accidentally like clear the cookies, at least it didn't clear out the cookies in a separate profile that they use other things with. Um, since it does like affect everything. I know internally for us, whenever we do an upgrade on our test servers, we typically have to clear the cookies just because of how our servers are configured infrastructure wise. So sometimes having those separate browser profiles is helpful. So if you do have to clear cookies, at least you don't lose anything in another one. The thing that's kind of annoying is just you have to kind of like re-implement the same process of getting your settings configured to whatever's optimal for Evergreen use and any add-ons and bookmarks.
Gotcha. Thank you. Any other questions for Dan? Okay. I don't see any, so I will. Okay, so Pales my upgraded from 3.11 to 3.13.4. We went all the way to 4. We skipped the earlier releases. We tested earlier releases, but when we went live, we went on .4. We had the clearing the cache, and in some cases, those who were using Hatch had a significantly harder time. It seemed to really want to hold on to stuff, and we were having one library, they couldn't look the catalog at all for some reason. And it was like one computer on one, like it was the most bizarre thing. So I don't know if it was user error in clearing the cache or if it was just a weird Hatch thing. So clearing the cache is now going to be our big thing when we upgrade next time. So any memes or communication tips on that, we sent out an email about it and everyone was like, well, I don't want to do that. I was like, well, yeah, you have to. I'm sorry. Like you have to. Like it's just you can't log in then. And they're like, well, I don't want to clear the cache. I'm gonna lose all my settings. And I'm like, but you can't log in at all. So you have to. So that was a fun hurdle. But once we got that going, it was everybody was able to log in okay. Um, there was a cataloging permissions omnibus fix, which was great because it put everything more in line with our current cataloging policies, but it became very apparent that some of our more seasoned users had permissions that we did not know they had, and they were adding copies and creating volumes this whole time. So that was kind of a wake-up call for them to have to get cataloging permissions to do those things now. So it wasn't the end of the world, but it was just kind of a shake-up for some of our more seasoned staff members. Um, the reports, we use reports and acquisitions in Pales, and there were some significant bugs with the reporter. It wasn't quickly apparent until about a week after our upgrade that things like there were some join errors on some of the databases. So at that point, we decided that we were no longer going to use the new reporter, and we've been redirecting folks to the legacy one. Thankfully, that still works. All of those things still work fine. Everything is um, Everything works great. We are working with Equinox on a couple patches. One that's outside of the specifically the joins one, and I'll put all these in the chat in a second, was one related to statistical categories, and we rely heavily on statistical categories for counting of municipalities, like if like how many patrons are in a certain municipality. And what it's doing is it's displaying the whole entire consortia's statistical categories instead of just the owning workstation or system. So people don't know which statistical category to pick. So the patch for 208.7562 is not working as extensively. Like you can't clone. If you clone a template, it still doesn't work. It still wants to use the old joins. So these are all the bugs that were impacted on us. And if you'd rather them as individual lines, I will happily do that. One is just like if you have a ton of previously run reports, the completed folder in your output won't display. And so our workaround was we just deleted anything older than 60 days. There was one where the date or like transforms don't save correctly. So what we did was if you delete it from the template and add it back, it worked fine. That was a great workaround. But the statistical categories and the joins one was the biggest issue for us. And so we are anticipating having to use the legacy reporter at least through the rest of this year. Um, there was one for the circulations where the hold grid display does IDs instead of names, which not the end of the world, but some people really like that. And then we did have a few acquisitions bugs. Let me put those in the chat and we can talk about them. Most of them have workarounds. The multi-branch can't see branch funds and invoices has a patch already. Well, it doesn't have it committed yet, but Tiffany has submitted something and we've been testing that. So I think Equinox is gonna, yeah, I think she did it at the Hackaway last week. So that was really nice. We have to sign off on it, but we're waiting for Equinox to do some additional testing on that one. Invoices with encumbrances and balance stop percentages, just if you're like at the amount or very close to those stop percentages, it just doesn't let you close an invoice. So then you have to like either remove those, percentage stop warnings or increase it to like higher than it should be just to get it to go through. And then this one's like a printing one. It's not the end of not the end of the world. If you just select everything in the print preview and hit print, it will let you. But for those who use the print preview and then the print button in the invoice, it cuts off lines of the invoice. So if you have to give it to your auditor or your bookkeeper, they'll be missing elements of your invoice. And there was one more that I just saw come through, and it is some of our invoices are rounding in a weird to like the 100% or the 100th position instead of, yeah, I have no idea why. So like instead of like dot not instead of like dot or like 23 cents, it's like dot 223999999. It's like, well, that's not, no one's charging that amount, so I don't know why. So I don't know if that's a known bug. I have to find that. Otherwise, it was going really smooth until we found some of these bugs. Um, the process was pretty good. The library search groups feature that we got added works a little more different, a little differently than folks were anticipating. So that's just more of an expectations management from this standpoint. So, but otherwise things were going pretty smoothly in the other modules, if you will. I'm just trying to think if there's anything else. I know Indiana, you're going this weekend. Is anyone else planning to upgrade relatively soon? Oh, okay. You're gonna evaluation. Or we'll be going in February. Oh, yeah, I would recommend all the way to 6. Awesome. Well, hopefully the reports things. Pines, are you on 313 now?
No, we're on 312.
Oh,
So, yeah, and reports is what I've been most worried about. And so the legacy reporter does still work because I
hmm
thought I heard it wouldn't. So that's a relief, honestly, because
yeah.
yeah,
Yeah, it's working for us.
great.
I don't know if they did anything on the back end to make it work, but I haven't heard. We're hosted by Equinox, so I'm
Mhm.
sure they would have told us. Um, we are having some like redirect issues. We can't redirect like the menu, the acquisition or the administration reports drop down selection. We can't redirect yet, but we're trying to figure out a way to get people to not click on it. We have the
Yeah.
splash page fixed and everything, but it's the one at the drop down menu one.
Okay, that's very good to know. Because yeah, especially with that new bug about the shelving locations, I just thought, oh no, this is
Yeah,
just
yeah.
and that was my main question about both of your upgrades was how that went. So we're trying to plan out training right now for how to,
Mm.
create templates and edit for staff. And it's just, I keep getting overwhelmed. So,
Yeah, yeah, we were a lot of people were surprised despite the amount of PR we did about the reporter getting a rewrite. They were kind of surprised. They're like, "Oh, it looks totally different."
mhm.
And so we were like, "We can't." If the workaround was like rebuilding templates or editing templates, trying to get them to do that in a whole new interface was going to be hard enough just to get them to run
Yeah.
it in the new interface. But to edit and run, I think that would have been the last straw. They would have gotten the pitchforks. So
Yeah, I'm assuming like I think there's only a few library staff who really do that. Mostly
mm,
we get help desk tickets for it, but yeah, I assume that'll just be the case more so when we
mhm,
move over to it. We'll just be creating most of the templates, which is fine anyway. But
yeah.
yeah, it's definitely a point of concern.
Mhm.
I have a question. We are preparing our libraries to use offline mode if they choose to do so, because we know how amazing offline mode always works. And but with the clearing of the cache, I would assume we would recommend them going through the processing, uploading before they go through and clear the cache of anything, right?
Yeah, I would, because I
Okay.
think that's where all that lives. Correct me if I'm wrong.
I think so because they say to cache the tabs before you use it.
Yeah.
Okay, thank you.
But if they can't log in to process,
Yeah,
you can always download the file. That,
probably. Okay. Yeah,
that's my only concern. I have not had that happen. Has anyone had this scenario?
we don't have a lot of experience with um, the offline interface, which I guess is good because we've been like up relatively most of the time. Um, but I think that you're right that it's stored in like the transaction history is stored in local storage, and so that if you cleared the cache, that would be messy.
Yeah.
Do you have people exporting those often? Because I know you could export the file, so you could just at least save it on the computer. It'll probably, I know it's like an added step. It's kind of like annoying to tell people to do it, but that was like a fail safe.
Yeah, I'll make sure because I'm actually doing the next offline mode review at 3 today. So, or next after this. So I may recommend they go ahead and do that.
Yeah. I think like the only thing that kind of is annoying with it, at least from what I remember, is that you still have to log back into the client in order to find
Mhm.
that to export. But I don't really use it often much here
Hmm.
either.
Well, you can export like at the end without logging
Oh,
in.
awesome.
Yeah.
Then okay, cool.
Okay.
Anything else? Britta, did you have anything else?
I can't think of anything. I'm sure I'll think of it Friday evening after I'm home or Monday morning when the help desk tickets start to come in.
Yeah, I think, stressing the clearing in the cache is probably your best bet. And
That's
if you
good to.
have if you have the redirect already in place or quickly in place for the reporter,
Mhm.
you should be,
Would
or not a
I'm tr
redirect, but if you update the splash screen to have the link for the reports to go to the legacy one, you should be okay.
I know there will be library staff that will not know how nor will be able to install a browser extension. Would Chrome's like empty cache hard reset or reload option work the same?
Like through the menu, like going through and then going to settings and doing it
Well,
that
like
way.
going to dev tool or devs opening the console and then right clicking on the refresh button.
Oh, we instruct them to go through like the settings and clearing it
Okay.
that way. That's how we
Okay.
do it
Okay.
because explaining dev tools to someone it has not been successful. So, um,
Okay.
but for those who use it that way, I guess is is it more successful?
Yeah, we use the extension, but it does exactly the same thing as the clear cache in settings, but it just gives you an easier place to find it and to like a clearer place to set your options like files only and the period of time,
Hmm.
all
Okay.
time.
All time.
Yeah, that all time is critical. I did not have that in my instructions originally, the proactive instructions, and I had it in the screenshot of what it should look like, but I did not specifically spell out all time. So I did have a couple tickets come in um, the morning of our upgrade from people, and I remoted it into their computers and took a look because they would say, I cleared my cache and things still look weird, and I saw that it had been cleared for the last hour. So that was on me.
Yeah.
And lesson learned for the future.
Yeah, the all time is really important, unfortunately.
One comment on the dev tools disabling the cache that way that you were mentioning, Britta, is I think that only disables the cache for just the page that you're on rather than for like everything. And so that's part of why we also do the like clear the cache totally because um we've had weird things happen in the past when we haven't had folks clear the cache. Like we had something that everything looked fine on the screen, but there was something that had changed in like the way that patrons were merged. I think this was like 5 upgrades ago, I want to say. And we didn't discover it until weeks later when we basically had like duplicate rows of patrons in our actor.user table and we like traced it to they were merged. Staff were trying to merge those patrons and it was actually creating duplicates. And it ended up being a cache problem that was causing that. Um, Man, that cache.
Well, thank you for the information. I appreciate it.
Yeah.
I wonder if it's just going back to that offline export, if it might be in our best interest to maybe submit a wish list item where just auto does it when you're done. Like it opens up like a dialog to download export of your offline session. I don't know. Because otherwise, like if you just log out completely, the only way to get it back is going in and just like another fail safe. So I don't know. Something to think about, I guess.
Well, maybe we won't have to worry about it as much once we finally get that standalone offline interface.
Yeah, that's a good point too. Yeah.
Fingers crossed.
Do you have a bug for that? Do you have a bug number for the standalone offline?
I thought I saw a wish list item.
I'm not having luck, but my
Here it
search ability.
is.
Oh, okay, thanks. My searching of the launchpad has not always been as successful as I hope it would be. Oh, nice.
I'm going to ask a question of Britta. I'm eavesdropping. I'm going to the offline tomorrow, but we are open on Sundays. So I'm wondering, should we, if it's back, because sometimes it comes back up on Sunday and then staff try to go and do all this and cause problems. Do you know if there is a chance it might actually be done Sunday, or do you think it will take the full time?
I will leave that question to Jeremy as he is the one doing the upgrade and
Oh,
he is
okay.
in here today.
You see, okay.
Yeah, I'm here. I'll say that we are also not just upgrading the Evergreen itself, we're also upgrading operating system on all of our servers.
Okay.
So that may make things take a little longer. I'm not going to guarantee it. I'll try to get it done as soon as I can.
Okay, because I almost would just prefer it not come back up if I don't know. I don't want to make you have to like work over, but okay, I may just instruct my staff not to. Just if it happens Sunday, just keep going like it wasn't.
Yeah,
But
we've
okay,
always recommended to tell our staff to wait for the email. It almost, I'm sure it goes over the head of many people, especially if they see it's up and running. But we try to tell them just wait for the email. We will tell you when you can log back on.
okay, all right. Sorry to interrupt the meeting. I'm nosy.
No, that's a really good question. We're up usually within an hour of our upgrade, so we only have about an hour downtime. But
That
maybe
sounds wonderful.
I know, but I'm kind of liking this idea of like, don't use it till I have a chance to wake up and test it. That probably would like have mitigated a lot of bugs or tickets because we have folks that come in like super early, like 7 a.m., 6:30 a.m. Yeah, I don't know why they're there at their library that early and they're using it. So it's like I'm not even up yet. Like I'm still eating my cereal at that time. So I kind of like that idea. Like don't use it until we tell you we got the all clear. do other libraries consortia do that? Like, does everybody else kind of have that weight?
Y- Yeah, we do. We on Saturday night, I think Chris like flips the switch, does a lot more than that, but he does the upgrade. And then Sunday, all of our libraries are closed on Sunday, I think, except for maybe a few. But we test, the Pines team tests like that full day. And then we set the expectation that Monday it's also going to be down, so use offline, and then we're back on Tuesday. But for the past several years, I think we're always good by Monday, but we do tell them wait until we have, you know, emailed you that you can
Mm.
resume as normal. And
Okay.
I don't know if some of them do log on earlier, but
Yeah, maybe like wait till the all clear or use at your own peril.
right, use it and don't complain yet
Yeah.
unless you get the email.
We will ignore any tickets if they come in before we tell you to get on.
Yeah, yeah.
Okay. Hmm. I'll have to talk with the rest of our team and see how they feel about it. Um, Anything else that folks want to chat about or ask questions about? This was our big topic.
I guess the question that I have is, who on 313 is, are you using both the regular circ and the experimental, or either or?
We're only using the regular.
Yeah. Okay.
We're not, I don't think, we never even tested it on any of our test servers for the experimental.
Okay.
I am going to activate the experimental circ for like our system headquarters staff because we do like some circ directly from our system headquarters. Um, I haven't done so yet, but I figure that like we internally like should be testing it and um, reporting bugs. What I've seen from bugs reported so far, it made it seem like it wasn't like
Mm-hmm.
100% ready for production, I think. So that's why I feel comfortable doing it with our system staff, but I don't know if I necessarily want to do it for like a library that that doesn't have the the time or desire to do a lot of like troubleshooting,
Yeah.
if that makes sense.
Yeah. I remember when we tried open that up for like an open beta test, just having like both available. One confusion that happened was like the hotkeys were automatically at default programmed to go to the experimental circ pages, which was kind of upsetting to some people. So I was like, all right, let's just disable it then. Um, Another thing that I found, at least for in my opinion, kind of tough to work with was the receipt templates were hidden inside the local administration menu, which we don't instruct our end users to go to, as compared to with regular circ that's under workstation and there I think it's like a much friendlier version of like an editor. So those were like some of the big things, especially the receipts. That made us pull it. But that was on 311 that we had that available for beta testing and not 313. So I'd be interested to know what people's thoughts are on that. We'll also do some testing post upgrade and see what we could come up with.
There
Gina,
is a
so
big spreadsheet for that. Oh, sorry.
um, could you share that spreadsheet?
Yes. Andrea and I were working on it over Hackaway, and I don't know if people saw I submitted like 15 bugs about it. Let's see. Um, and I know that I think there's been talk about scheduling bug squashing week that is like mainly for Angular Circ, and I think that would be awesome.
One thing I wanted to mention about Angular Circ I think it was in 3.14, there was a big accessibility fix that went in, and I'm looking for the bug right now, but it changed the layout of the screen. So we're reluctant to let anybody look at it as it is in 3.13 if it's going to change. So I am looking for that bug, and we'll post it in the chat when I find it.
And I think the most current version is on the Butternut community server if anyone wants to look. But yeah, Michelle, I think I remember what you're talking about. It's like the patron search, and there are a bunch of different or changes made to the notes tab, and
Yeah.
I
Oh,
guess
that's what
all
it
of that.
was.
Yeah.
It was all linked to this patron notes and messages bug, which might help me find it better.
Just a question for Gina. So when you had Angular Circ activated, were you libraries were still able to use the what am I calling it? The traditional Circ?
Yeah, so
Okay.
what would happen if you have both enabled is that it will be like, I think, side by side. Let me see if I could find a doc on that, because you put that in our new features doc for experimental circ, which was kind of a pain to write because it was doing things all over again. Let's see if I can find it. Yep. So, if I remember correctly, what I have here. Um, Yeah, so it would kind of be a lot like, do you remember when the Angular catalog was experimental before it became like it'd be kind of the same thing. You would have like your circulation. That one I had to just do like a quick edit for because it was just circulation and nothing else next to it. So I just went into the code and put like regular in the header. And then there'll be circulation experimental, if I remember correctly. But yeah, you can't have both enabled.
Okay, that's super useful. Thank you.
No problem. It's just those hotkeys, unfortunately, are gonna map to the new one. Then it's like, ah.
Is there a rough estimate of when people, I feel like I know this, when they're anticipating the Angular circulation to be in main or master? I want, is it 3.15 or 4? I, I heard that part of the conversation, but I wasn't 100% sure I was hearing things correctly. Okay, 4.
I just found that bug, and I put it in chat, and there are some screenshots that Stephanie Leary posted in there to show you how the search screen and patron interface looks different.
Oh my goodness, the notes. So beautiful. Ooh. Sorry. This is so exciting.
It is very pretty. It's just it surprised me how different it looked.
Yeah.
I wasn't prepared.
Yeah. Oh, yeah. I have a feeling a lot of people will be surprised. I
So
like
this,
when
I'm sorry.
no, I was just gonna say I like when they have photos because like sometimes I have a hard time, imagining when they describe it in text. So I love having some images.
So this is in 314, right, Michelle?
Yes. Yeah.
Okay,
So
but
it's the Angular experimental in 3.14.
and not backported to like 313
That's
experimental.
correct. Yep.
Okay, thank you. Yeah, so I think I like your approach, Michelle, of maybe not necessarily releasing it to library staff now. It's that kind of like, for me at least, cements the idea of like, well, we'll let system staff have access to it, but not to give library staff access to it and then pull the rug out from under them.
I do like your idea of testing it like with central staff first. Um, I'll be curious to hear about that, how you're finding it. Like just that, that approach. I think it's hard to test some of these things on a test server. So it's like, it's great when you have it as like this experimental interface so you can kind of have it interact with your policies so you kind of know what to expect when you see stuff.
Even better would be if I could take the traditional circle way. I'm kidding. You'd probably have a little revolt if I tried to do that.
Yeah, that wouldn't make you real popular.
No.
Any other topics or questions that folks want to chat about?
Maybe not for this time because it might be a longer conversation, but I wanted to um, maybe chat next time about what folks are doing um, to help ensure like security kinds of things. And kind of going off of that, something that we're considering, and Gina said something that made me think of this, is we're thinking of switching to encourage our library staff to use Firefox for Evergreen instead of Chrome. Um, Partially because of the problems that we've seen with Hatch kind of being taken away for a minute there, and then we were able to fix that on our own. But it's still something that was a little bit concerning to us. But also because at least the way that we have our computers set up in our like networks at our libraries is that we could kind of do something that would lock Firefox down. And so like people wouldn't be able to install extensions or wouldn't be able to like save passwords or things like that. And it's all a lot of things that we're kind of considering. I'd love to hear from other folks who are doing other things or taking maybe different approaches or maybe doing some of those too. But that feels like it's probably a big conversation, maybe a next time kind of conversation.
That sounds good to me. We're in a consortium where we don't have some of those levers to pull. We kind of rely on the individual libraries' IT departments for those. So if anyone does that kind of stuff and has a contact that would like to share that, that would be helpful. We can invite them to the next meeting.
Could people just share whether they use Firefox or Chrome primarily? That shouldn't be a long conversation. We use Chrome. We recommend Chrome, and I'm interested in reasons for not for using Firefox.
We use Chrome. And we recommend Chrome or Firefox. So some libraries use Firefox, some use Chrome, but the Pale staff in general uses Chrome.
We have a kind of a couple different reasons why we're considering looking at Firefox. So the first one was because we could kind of lock it down. We actually could lock it down for Chrome too, but a lot of our library staff we get the impression that they're used to using Chrome, and so we don't want to necessarily like lock down something that they're using for other purposes and like take something away from them. Something that we've run into a lot with Chrome are instances of staff like signing into either a shared library Gmail account or a like a personal Gmail account and basically logging into that through the browser and having that basically be like the profile and having that cause messes with workstation settings or hatch settings if they like go and clear their cookies or clear their settings. Um, and we've also, this is theoretical, but we've also thought like, okay, we know that sometimes library staff may like save passwords to the browser. We know that sometimes they're logging into their own like personal Gmails. It could be happening that someone could be logged in with their Gmail in the Chrome browser. Another library staff member comes along to Evergreen, goes to save their password, and that actually ends up getting saved to the Gmail user's settings or something. I don't know exactly. And so that like ends up starting to skirt on the issue of like a security breach if then that person who had been logged in with Gmail leaves employment and um, it's just really messy, and Firefox seems not to have as many of those problems. So
To a
that's my
degree,
reasoning.
yeah, to a degree, it sounds like more, and this is, I feel bad saying this, sounds more of like a staff training, like don't log into your personal stuff when at the cert desk. Like, but they're all human and they're going to do it anyway. So I do I do acknowledge that, if there is an option to, get around that, that would be helpful to avoid it.
Yeah, we
So
definitely had messy profile issues. Um, at least initially, I think maybe libraries have figured out what the boundaries are.
I feel like we maybe almost go through like cycles where there's like a certain cohort of people who figure out the boundaries, but then like libraries may have like some turnover, and so everyone has to rediscover things. So yeah.
those are always fun. Don't miss managing an actual support, like an actual IT department. We don't, that was, all right. Well, we can explore it further if you'd like, Dan, at the next meeting. Do we want to meet in December? I know a lot of groups tend to avoid a December meeting due to holidays and vacation schedules. Um, if we were to meet in December, that would bring us to the 17th, so roughly a week before the Christmas holiday. Or would you like to wait until January?
I'll be around December. And,
Okay.
and
If we meet, I will come.
Okay. I guess we, oh, okay. I never know what people's schedules are like, so don't want to rush anyone. Plus, maybe we'll meet and have not much to talk about. Yes. Okay. We will schedule one for the 17th. If anyone has additional or some recommendations of people to talk about too, about just browser security, I guess more so than password or Evergreen security on that front, that would be helpful. If not, I'll just put out the general agenda and hopefully folks who do have some tips and tricks on that can join us. But otherwise, we can adjourn for the day, and I hope you all can test some of the bugs and things that we put in the chat. And I'll put the minutes up on the wiki, so if you want to look there for the bug links as well, I'll have them listed. But otherwise, thank you, and if you celebrate Thanksgiving, have a good Thanksgiving.